don't know what the hell we're going to talk about, we're just going to do random stuff.
Yes, agreed.
Literally, it is random, but
random for her. For me, I do a lot of planning. Because I try
she's
to.
one of those people.
Yeah.
And we have Bob,
Mr. Gnome.
Bob back here, who is joining us today. Oh, that one's Charles Dickens.
Hello. So I am trying to log in.
It's her fault this time.
No, it's not that it's my fault. I'm trying to get this
Find
thing to accept because I'm now freaking out because it has not adapted and updated my newest typings. So
in her tablet.
Yeah, it hasn't updated. But eventually we'll get there.
I'm getting a headache.
You are not the only one. I'm getting a headache from writing on the newest case. Anything happened this week?
Oh, got a new coach at work over in OPD. Seems like a nice lady. She's like, she will put the hammer down, but at the same time, she's approachable.
Which is nice.
Like, I don't get a, I don't get bad vibes, put it that way. I don't get, like, uncomfortable vibes from that person. She seemed pretty cool. She did a bunch of training today, so who's that?
Hi, Thomas.
Oh, Tomas. You left at 1 o'clock, didn't you, today? I went over to your department hollering, Tomas. No response. My guess is you left early because I needed to ask you something, but I can ask you tomorrow.
All right. And then
Do you want to wait a few more minutes?
Yeah, we'll wait a few more minutes.
Angela or anybody else pops on.
Because
I did not go on Facebook and say we were going live. Usually I do.
Okay. No, I don't want to share this.
I should.
What are you gonna do?
I have my tablet.
I have no clue what she's doing.
That's the mystery. Mystery of doom.
I'm very confused by what she's doing.
I said mystery of doom.
I'm just trying to add page breaks. Hi, Angela. Okay. You've appeared. Welcome back.
Ta-da!
Popping in and out.
Okay, I'm good.
Damn, okay.
I can pop it, but I can't lock it.
I can always lock it, but I can't pop it.
Oh, this is going to be fun. You should change the channel.
I'm just thinking about how my knees locked.
I shouldn't name the channel Pop It, Lock It. I can't lock it, but she can lock it. I can pop it and she can't pop it. Oh, it'd be a fitting name. That's a t-shirt. Pop it, lock it. Wait, where's my notebook? Damn it. Come up with ideas.
Pop it, lock it.
Pop it, lock it t-shirt. My family will be like, I ain't wearing that. It's like, why not, Leroy? You pop it and Jane locks it. I could go so many ways.
Maybe it's because I haven't exited out of Google Docs in a while.
Probably.
Notebook time.
Yes. Notebook.
I was just freaking out because I couldn't find myself. Ha ha ha! You missed a lot. You missed it. She's Pop It, and I'm Lock It. Because I'm technically not allowed to drive. Because I will lock it permanently.
Pop it and lock it. People are going to be like, what the heck is wrong with you two?
Yeah.
We do podcasts. That's what we do. I'm lost every day because all I do is walk around a store.
I'm lost every afternoon because I don't know what I'm doing after fitting rooms.
I'm trying to pull us up on this.
Okay.
I'm not coloring today because not a whole lot of reaction last time. I wasn't paying attention. So today is like I'm trying to find something to do. I have a little puzzle book in front of me, so I'm trying not to do that as much. Either.
Yeah. So the first thing we're going to talk about though is Juneteenth and the history of it because it's this Thursday. So some of you may be asking, what is Juneteenth and why is there a federal holiday for it?
Nope. Oh, sorry. Her plug. Okay.
I didn't even notice it. She just went, oh no, and she just dove for it.
It was sliding off the table. They ain't messing. Okay, they're not messing with it. It was falling off of the table. Don't judge me. I'm ADHD.
So
You haven't figured that out
Juneteenth
yet.
is also called Black Independence Day or Emancipation Day. Those are some other names for it. In 1963, Abraham Lincoln issued, not 1918, that would be super recent.
Boy, is he
Ooh.
moldy.
1863, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared more than 3 million enslaved people living in the Confederate States would be free.
Now, that's a fun thing to say. Emancipation. Oh my God. Emancipation Proclamation. It's just, I don't know why. I mean, apparently I can't say it.
Apparently it wasn't originally written, the Emancipation Proclamation. It was just that was what they had called it to make it easier. It was a executive order.
There's that word again.
Yeah.
Executive order.
So I will also note that he did not free the slaves because he was an ardent abolitionist. He was not an ardent abolitionist. He was kind of like a abolitionist when necessary. So he didn't do it because he wasn't an abolitionist. He just wanted to crumble the Confederate South. Willow, can you get your tail out of the camera? Talking about a very serious topic here.
Willow, come here. Come here, Mama. Get your butt. Nobody wants to see your booty. Do not touch that. God, cat, you got to be in everything, don't you? Hi. Can you just lay down? No, okay. I love you too. Lay down. Come here. Lay down.
Oh, good.
I love the fact that you want to be a part of this. I'm sitting right here. I do. You know.
He wanted to crumble the Confederate South in the war. So there's actually a quote I found that he had actually written, and it goes like this. My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union. Without freeing any struggle is to save the Union and is not either to save or to destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that.
He lied to us.
History lied to us.
History lied to us.
History lied to us.
How dare you?
Yeah. So basically, it was he just wanted to save the Union. He just wanted to save the country. He didn't really want to free them slaves. So sorry to ruin some people's preconceived ideas about Abraham Lincoln, but that was the truth about him. So getting off topic here, the slaves were not all freed on that date that the Emancipation Proclamation was declared because, one, how would the slaves know? Because a lot of them couldn't read. And also, do you think the owners would go ahead and be honest with the slaves and say, you're free now?
No, they would not. Why would they sit there and do that when they can keep them longer and not pay them anything?
Yeah.
Willow. If we topple over, it's because of Willow.
Willow.
Come here. Come back over here. Told you, folks. Live, raw, and uncut. This is what we do. We have animals, and they want to be a part of everything and show you their butt. Yes, she does. Always.
She is the what's it called?
Mascot.
Yes. You know you can search us, right?
I don't. Can you leave me alone? It keeps doing stupid shit anyways.
Just look up the title of what this episode
I
is.
have to go back to the top. Okay. Slow down.
Okay. Blah 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 blah. Now I have lost my space.
You're funny, Angela.
So the slaves were not all freed of the Emancipation Proclamation because they couldn't read and they would have to trust their owners. So Juneteenth is a celebration of when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas on June 19th, 1865, which was 2 years since the original Emancipation Proclamation.
You think so? That's the question there, Thomas.
So 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation,
Uh-huh.
the last of the slaves were freed in Galveston, Texas.
After how long?
2 years. So it was issued. It was.
You're telling me, and this is my face. Because I just. You fucker.
Oh my god. Today's gonna be a fun day. So it was initiated in 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay.
And on June 19th of 1865, the residents learned about the proclamation and the slaves were freed. And that was when Union soldiers finally got to it.
And how many? What happened after they found out about the whole Emancipation Proclamation?
They freed them. They told the slaves that they were free when
But
the
why
Union got there.
But did they? How am I trying to word this? Because my brain doesn't even know. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, were they mad because learning that they had been freed a long time ago, and then just now finding out that they were able to be freed?
They never said that, but it was kind of just yay, we're free is what I'm assuming.
Okay.
Because first of all, are they to trust their slave owners? No. They couldn't read. They weren't taught to read, and only the slaves that did know how to read were primarily in the South and not in Texas.
That's smart, Texas.
So did the residents learn about this? So Juneteenth celebrates a day when the last of the slaves were freed from their owners.
Woo!
Juneteenth was an unofficial holiday, and it was typically only celebrated among the Black community in Texas until it became a state holiday. And then it got bigger and bigger, and more people celebrated it. I'm sorry, she's wandering around. I'm
looking for the little noise thingy. What happened to it? Did I put it somewhere, didn't I?
It's in Justin's office.
I'm not going in there. I'll get a what?
Yeah.
Get out.
You will. So
no, it's my office. Mine. I let him use it.
So Texas made it a state holiday in 1980. Yeah. And then it grew into a popular holiday among the Black population in the United States. And
It was hidden from me, probably.
And in 2021, it was made a federal holiday.
1980.
It was proclaimed a state. Then in 2021, it was proclaimed a federal holiday. And then people got mad that it was made a federal holiday.
Boo-hoo.
Why you're mad, I don't know. Okay, so.
I mean, we celebrate everything else.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about something that is often. I didn't know that. Eat and drink red food and drinks, symbolizing resilience, sacrifice.
Can you stop it? I'm having issues.
She's having technical issues. Do you want me to just work it?
No. I'm trying to get it to
oh, fuck me.
My face to you on yours all. No, like stop. I got this.
I'm sure.
Well, why is it not turning sideways?
Do you have the screen thing lock on?
Ugh, no, it's off. That's supposed to. Stupid idiot. Myself, okay. I'm only allowed to call myself an idiot. You are not. What is all that?
Just hit X.
There,
That's
we're
the
done.
description.
Okay, we're done.
Hit the X. And then make it full screen.
I'm trying.
I know you're trying.
I was trying to see the chats. That's what I wanted.
We got everything working. Finally. Took us 18 minutes.
And look at these two beautiful ladies you get to see, folks. We have the beautiful, breathtaking.
I turned it down. Yeah, you can turn it on. It's fine. They won't hear it. Laughing because I had it turned
We
up.
heard ourselves laugh, and then we
You
caused
heard
ourselves
me
laugh.
laugh. That's what that was. That noise. Okay.
Okay.
Woo.
Okay.
Back to
Okay.
the subject matter at hand.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not the only one who has been drinking. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I snort.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about something that is actually commonly linked in with Juneteenth.
Okay.
And that is going to be the Tulsa Race Massacre. And the reason it's commonly linked in with Juneteenth is because Juneteenth is talking about the freedom from slavery and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But the Tulsa Race Massacre happened from May 31st to June 1st, 1921. And it's kind of an example how even though the Black population was freed,
Aw, Thomas, you're making me sick.
even
That's
though it
cute.
Go, Thomas, go! Go, Thomas, go!
was, even though they were free from slavery, they were not free from injustices.
Sorry.
They weren't free from injustices. So the Tulsa Race Massacre is a perfect example of this. And
Yeah.
so hence why it's commonly linked in.
And you know what? I never heard about this
And you are not alone.
story until I was watching. I'm going to give a shout out to the. Well,
It
not only
was.
that, but the person I heard talk about it was Bailey Sarian. She also does. She has 2 podcasts, I think. She has one that's like not dark history, but history, and then she also does one where she does her makeup, and that's how I learned about
The Tulsa Race Massacre. And you're not wrong. John is not wrong. They did try to keep this from the thing, and I will discuss that. So, the Tulsa Race Massacre is thought to be the worst incident of racial violence in American history.
I will second that.
Yeah, I will say there's not a lot about what happened during it, because there was a news blackout for decades. So there were no public ceremonies, memorials, or any efforts to mention what happened between May 31st and June 1st. The Tulsa Tribune removed the front page story of May 31st that sparked the chaos that caused the Tulsa Race Massacre. And it was later discovered that police and state militia archives about the riot were missing as well. So they literally removed it from history.
They gutted it.
Can you hear the ice machine by any chance?
Our microphones are noise cancellation ones,
So it should
they
block
should
it
be
out.
able to hear it.
Yeah, they said nope.
Nope.
So as a result, until recently, the Tulsa Race Massacre was rarely mentioned in history books and taught in schools.
Yeah.
Or it was basically never really talked about. And so you may be wondering why.
You get yourself something to drink. I'm wondering why.
So one of the reasons why is community silence, that it wasn't really talked about. So white residents reluctant to admit involvement. So some residents didn't want to acknowledge that their friends or relatives might have participated in the massacre.
Well, because it's embarrassing.
Yeah. And then blacks residents fear and desire to protect their children. So they were traumatized by the violence and were hesitant to pass on the painful stories and potentially expose their children
which
to a fear of a similar event.
which makes a lot of sense. But now these days, it's just for me, and this is just my personal opinion. It's better to just tell them because they're going to see it one way or another. But understandably, what was the year time for this
In
again?
1921.
So they don't have what we have now. We don't
Yeah.
have phones, internet,
Recordings.
and things like that. What?
Question.
What?
Was this massacre on Native Americans or African?
African Americans.
Are you sure?
It was in
Yes.
Tulsa. It was in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa Race Massacre was in Black
There
American.
was also a massacre in Oklahoma of Native Americans.
There was another massacre of Native Americans. So another thing is
I agree.
mischaracterizations
Appropriate
and blame. So framing the event as a riot, white newspapers and local government initially characterized the event as a race riot and blamed the black community for the violence.
Yep.
This framing also prevented insurance claims from being paid out to victims whose property were destroyed. And then indicting black residents, an all-white grand jury indicted mostly black men for the massacre.
Yeah.
Further shifting blame away from the white perpetrators. Neglect in education. So the massacre was omitted from textbooks. The Tulsa Race Massacre was rarely mentioned in history books or taught in schools for many years. Vague educational standards, even when the event was added to the state academic standards in Oklahoma in 2022. In 2002, I mean. The guidelines were vague and allowed schools to largely avoid teaching about it.
Yeah.
Active resistance to uncovering the truth. Resistance to documenting the events. Some white Tulsans actively resisted efforts to chronicle the massacre. Refusal to publish articles about the massacre. When journalists tried to write about the events, their articles were refused by newspapers. Systemic racism and culture of silence, lack of accountability. No white perpetrators were prosecuted for the violence. Prevalence of white on black violence. The massacre was part of a larger pattern of white on black violence in America at the time.
Yeah.
And that was often ignored and downplayed. And then intentional suppression of knowledge. The systematic nature of the cover-up and lack of inclusion in historical narratives suggests that the lack of knowledge in some ways were very, very much intentional. I mean, the getting rid of military papers.
I can see that because they want to cover up something that they did that they don't want to take responsibility for.
Yeah. And then despite these efforts to erase the events, the memory of the massacre was kept alive within the black community through informal channels and through the work of individuals and organizations who refused to let it be forgotten. The Oklahoma Eagle newspaper was one of these examples.
Right.
So awareness of the Tulsa Race Massacre has increased significantly in recent years due to efforts of historians, researchers, journalists, and media outlets, including HBO, because if you watch their TV series Watchmen, they discussed the Tulsa Race Massacre. It was the first major media venture to actually mention the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Nice.
So let's do the hard part and talk about what happened since we haven't really talked about why. And there are different stories. Some say it wasn't this wasn't the reason. They wanted the land. Other things like that. But this is the main story that most historians refer to. So, in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was known as a modern city with more than 100,000 residents. And most of the city's 10,000 African American residents lived in the Greenwood district. And that was because of segregation. So the Greenwood was segregated from all the rest of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So they lived in Greenwood, and it was a beautiful neighborhood. It had 2 newspapers, several churches, a library, a lot of black-owned businesses, some of them being restaurants and theaters and clothing shops and even hotels. So it was a town within a town. In fact, it was called the Black Wall Street because of how much the town was flourishing even under segregation. Tulsa, while beautiful, was also really troubled with crime. So crime rates were high, and there was a long history of vigilantism in the city. There was also a large number of Klan members. Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of Klan members in this at the time. And you can actually see this rise of vigilantism because in August of 1920, there was an accused when a white mob lynched 19-year-old Roy Belton, who was also white, after he was accused of hijacking and shooting another white taxi driver in Homerita. So after he was accused, they went into the jail. This mob went into the jail, grabbed him, and lynched him. So that's like the level of vigilantism at this time. So they took him from the Tulsa City County Jail and lynched him in an isolated area. And the reason I'm telling you this is important to understand the instability and the lack of confidence in the police force at the time. And it also scared the Black community because if the mob was willing to do this to a white guy,
who's to say they're not going to do it to them?
And especially because it was segregated and there was so much racism at the time,
Yeah,
it would be even worse for them. On May 30th of 1921, a young Black teenager named Dick Rowland entered an elevator at the Drexel Building, an office building in South Main Street. At some point, the young white elevator operator, Sarah Page, screamed, and Rowland led the scene. I want to tell you what actually happened, and then I'm going to tell you what the newspaper reported.
Okay. What? Come here.
So Sarah reported that Dick Rowland walked into an elevator that Sarah Page was operating, and he either stepped on her foot or he tripped, but he fell forward into Sarah Page.
Okay.
Now remember, a lot of racism.
Oh, yeah.
Black dude falling on you, a white woman's going to freak out. So she took her purse and hit him repeatedly with it and actually broke her purse because of that.
Jeez.
He said that he might have grabbed her arms to steady himself and that she screamed because he had grabbed her arms. He then took off. Now remember, at the time, he grabbed a white woman in an area with a lot of Klan present, and in that Klan's book, that's enough to lynch you. I mean, if you think about Emmett Till, he just whistled and they lynched him.
Yeah.
So the police told the news that he was a pimp named Diamond Ray, and that she was an orphan, and that she had a scratched face and torn clothes, and that Rowland had essayed her. Now, I will say, Sarah said that never happened, and she actually never pressed charges.
Wow.
But the news media and the police ran with this story.
Of course they would, because why?
You know? So this is where the Tulsa Race Massacre now happens. So the newspaper publishes a story that Rowland has been arrested for essaying Page, and the Tribune publishes a now lost editorial about the incident titled, pardon my language, "To Lynch a N-Word Tonight."
Oh, jeez.
By early evening, there was, once again, lynch talk in the streets of Tulsa. Talk soon turned to action. By 7:30, hundreds of whites had gathered outside the Tulsa County Courthouse, demanding the authorities hand over Dick Rowland, but the sheriff refused. About 9 p.m., after reports of the dire conditions downtown reached Greenwood, a group of approximately 25 armed African-American men, many of them World War I veterans, went down to the courthouse and offered their services to authorities to help protect Rowland. The sheriff, however, turned to them and turned the men down, and told them to return to Greenwood.
Yeah, makes sense.
Stunned and then enraged, members of the white mob then tried to break into the National Guard armory, but were turned away by a handful of local guardsmen. At about 10 p.m., a false rumor hit Greenwood that whites were storming the courthouse. This time, a second contingent of African-American men, perhaps 75 in number, went back to the courthouse and offered their services to the authorities. Once again, they were turned down. And as they were leaving, a white man tried to disarm a black veteran and a shot was fired. And then the riot began. Over the next 6 hours, Tulsa was plunged into chaos as angry whites, frustrated over the failed lynching, began to vent their rage at African Americans in general. Furious fighting erupted along the Frisco Railroad tracks, where black defenders were able to hold off members of the white mob. An unarmed African American man was murdered inside a downtown movie theater, while carloads of armed whites began making drive-by shootings in black residential neighborhoods. By midnight, fires had been set along the edge of the African American commercial district. In some of the city's all-night cafes, whites began to organize for a dawn invasion of Greenwood. During the early hours of the conflict, local authorities did little to stem the growing crisis. Indeed, shortly after the outbreak of gunfire at the courthouse, Tulsa police officers deputized former members of the lynch mob and, according to an eyewitness, instructed them to get a gun and get an N-word.
Wow.
Local units of the National Guard were mobilized, but they spent most of the night protecting a white neighborhood from a feared but non-existent black counterattack.
So that just says right there, crooked cop.
All of them were.
You know, well, him saying what he said.
Yeah,
Well,
and
there's
that was the
one.
sheriff. So shortly before dawn on June 1st, thousands of armed whites gathered along the fringes of Greenwood. When daybreak came, they poured into the African American district, looting homes and businesses and setting them on fire. Numerous atrocities occurred, including the murder of A.C. Jackson, a renowned black surgeon who was shot after he surrendered to a group of whites. At least one machine gun was utilized by the invading whites. And some participants have claimed that airplanes were also used in the attack. Black Tulsans fought hard to protect their homes and businesses, with particularly sharp fighting occurring off at Standpipe Hill. In the end, they were simply outgunned and outnumbered. By the time that additional National Guard troops arrived in Tulsa, approximately at 9:15 a.m. in the morning of June 1st, most of Greenwood had already been put to the torch. A brief period of martial law was declared, followed by recriminalizations and legal maneuvering. Even though Dick Rowland was exonerated, he was released.
Yeah.
An all-white grand jury blamed black Tulsans for the lawlessness. Thousands of African Americans were interned in the following days of the massacre. Despite overwhelming evidence, no whites were ever sent to the prisons for the murders and arsons that occurred. The vast majority of Tulsa's African American population has been made homeless by the event. Yet despite efforts by the white establishment to force the relocation of the black community within days of the violence, black Tulsans had already begun the long and arduous process of rebuilding Greenwood. Thousands, however, were forced to spend the winter of 1921 through 1922 living in tents.
And that's okay. Now these days, Oklahoma cold it rarely happens if it does. But it can get cold, but back then, yeah, you're freezing your tooties
And then
off.
also thinking about this, right? The fact that they named it a riot meant that none of the black Tulsans could get insurance claims.
Which is horrible.
So they couldn't even get money for what had happened to them. So while Greenwood was eventually rebuilt, many families never truly recovered from the disaster. Moreover, for many years, the violence became something of a taboo subject, particularly in Tulsa. A state commission was formed in 1997 to investigate, and the report recommended that reparations be paid to the remaining black survivors. A team of scientists and historians uncovered evidence supporting the long-held belief that unidentified victims had been buried in unmarked grave sites. The Oklahoma Bureau of Vital Statistics officially recorded 36 dead, and that included 26 black men and 10 whites. However, historians estimate the death toll may be as high as 300. Even by low estimates, the Tulsa Race Massacre stood as one of the deadliest riots in U.S. history, behind only the New York draft riots in 1863, which killed at least 119 people. In the years to come, as black Tulsans worked to rebuild their ruined home and businesses, segregation in the city only increased, and Oklahoma's newly established branch of the KKK grew in strength. And what has made this so upsetting was that it was kept under such a tight lid, and we didn't really talk about it until recently.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many people who don't even know what it is.
And they should. I mean, why try to hide
It's a
something that-
historical event, and I think it's why hide it, because then I hate to say it, it proves people wrong.
Mhm.
It proves that
And what happens when they hate to be proven wrong? Get pissed.
I think we as an American society like to forget the racism that America was founded on,
Yeah.
and so this just proves the racism even more.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was the Tulsa Race Massacre and Juneteenth. Very, very happy stories. Great stories.
We're having a fantastic freaking time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Stonewall next because it is Pride Month.
Yeah.
We're going to do the Stonewall riots. Fun fact, they do not like being forced to see the bad in their ancestors' shirts too much. That is true.
Yeah.
Fun fact, a lot of gay activists don't like to use the word Stonewall riots because honestly, it wasn't really a riot. And they called it a riot even in the beginning, and that was a way of justifying their force against the gay population at Stonewall. So
Yeah.
it technically, they labeled it a riot before it officially became a riot.
Here, we're just
They
gonna go
actually-
ahead and call it a riot,
And then we can justify the
we can
use
justify
of
it
force
later.
Yeah. So they call it either, I think, what did you say, the Stonewall Resistance or the Stonewall Revolution? Because I think when I was doing research on this, they said before Stonewall, there was only like 60, I think they called it homeophilia organizations, which is basically, there was about 60 gay activist groups that were around fighting for gay rights.
Uh-huh.
After Stonewall, there was hundreds. There was, I think they said, estimating about 200 in the like months afterwards. So Stonewall literally made a huge difference in the gay rights world. So we're going to talk about the Stonewall, and we're going to talk about 3 historic people who were a part of Stonewall, and we're essentially like the reason a lot of us have the rights we do, gay rights exist as we has now. But we're also going to talk about some of the double standards that existed in the early days of gay rights, because I think that is also something to talk about.
Okay. Bring it on.
Yeah.
What's the resistance?
So,
Dancing to food music.
From 1920s through the mid 1960s, every state in the U.S. had laws that punished homosexual conduct.
Okay.
The courts and police used such misdemeanor charges such as disorderly conduct, lewdness, and loitering to harass gay people. According to historian George Chauncey, homosexuals were not just ridiculed and scored, they were systematically denied their civil rights. Their right to free assembly, to patronize public accommodations, to free speech, to free press, to a form of intimacy of their own choosing, and they confronted a degree of policing and harassment that is almost unimaginable to us today. In the Cold War, as a result of a 1953 executive order banning homosexuals from federal employment, you could be fired for being openly gay. This led to an era known as the Lavender Scare. Fun fact, do you know what a lavender marriage is?
I was thinking a purple.
Oh, I get to teach you something so cool. So a lavender marriage is when a gay man marries a lesbian woman. Or a gay man marries a straight woman who's like, fuck it, I'll marry you. Who knows they're gay. It's kind of a way to keep themselves as...
So, like, oh my God, what's his name? From Queen. If you ever watched
Freddie
the movie,
Mercury?
Freddie Mercury, actually, a straight woman did marry him, but she did love him though.
Wasn't Freddie Mercury bisexual?
I don't remember.
I think he was bisexual. I think Freddie Mercury was like the first openly bisexual man
person?
out there.
Okay. That I didn't know. Yes, he was.
But like kind of like that. It would be like marrying somebody. They would know you're gay. You could go out and do whatever you wanted on the side.
Mm-hmm.
But you are married legally to somebody. So Hence why, like, now you'll see a lot of people talk about lavender marriages and things like that. It's because that's one way you could keep yourself safe. Oh no, I'm married to somebody. You automatically are like, okay, cool, you're straight.
Right?
As the 1960s progressed, and also like this included like in New York, we're going to find out there was a law stating that you had to wear 3 pieces of clothing that was assigned to your gender. So women, if they wanted to wear pants, would have to wear like a blouse and like would have to wear 3 other pieces of clothing that identified them, that were identified as female clothing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, some of these laws were insane. Like I was like, wait, you had to wear clothing was gendered?
Yeah. That's weird. I've never heard that, but okay.
Yeah. So as the 1960s progressed and other minorities began fighting for equality, gay rights groups were created for the same purpose. While this activism led to some gains, especially after the Stonewall, in 1969, discrimination and bias remained present among the people and in the government. So, June 28th, 1969 marks the beginning of the Stonewall Uprising, a series of events between police and LGBTQ plus protesters, which stretched over 6 days. It was not the first time the police had raided a gay bar, not bard. You know what? D&D. How many of them? It was not the first time the police had raided a gay bar, and it was not going to be the last time that they raided a gay bar. But it was not the first time that the LGBTQ people fought back. In the events that would unfold over the next 6 days, it would fundamentally change the discourse surrounding LGBTQ plus activism in the United States. And actually, fun fact, it was just LGB. Because back then, there was no transgender. You'll see me use the term crossdresser or transvestite, because the word transgender did not exist at the time. Sometimes they would just be LGBTQ, but sometimes they were about the Q because it was being used as a slur at the time, and there were others that were not widely accepted.
Yeah.
So historians note that the shift in activism at Stonewall truly represented one and all, was a shift primarily for white cisgender people, as people of color and gender non-conforming people never truly had the benefits of concealing their marginalized identities. So while the events of Stonewall are often referred to as riots, Stonewall veterans, as they call themselves, explicitly stated they prefer the term Stonewall Uprising or Rebellion. The reference to these events as riots was initially used by police to justify their use of force. So let's go to that night in 1969.
Let's do it.
On a hot summer night in 1969, police raided the Stonewall Inn, a bar located in New York City's Greenwich Village that served as a haven for the city's gay, lesbian, and transgender community. At the time, homosexual acts remained illegal in every state except Illinois, and bars and restaurants could get shut down for having gay employees or serving gay patrons. Most gay bars and clubs in New York at the time, including the Stonewall, were operated by the mafia.
Oh, jeez.
Who paid corrupt police officers to look the other way and blackmailed wealthy gay patrons by threatening to out them. The mafia was like, we allies, bro.
Go mafia this time. Now, not so much. Back then, do it.
They were like, we the number one allies over here.
We got you.
We got your back. So police raids on gay bars were common, but on that particular night, members of the city's LGBTQ community decided to fight back, sparking an uprising that will launch a new era of resistance and revolution. On June 24th, 1969, police arrest Stonewall employees and confiscate all alcohols.
Yep.
On Tuesday,
Very
before the
true.
riots began, before the revolution began, police conducted an evening raid on the Stonewall, arresting some of its employees and confiscating its stash of illegal liquor. As with many similar raids, the police targeted the bar for operating without the proper liquor license. After the raid, the NYPD planned a second raid for the following Friday, which they hoped would shut down the bar for good. Now, on June 27th through June 28th, Stonewall erupts after police arrest and rough up patrons. So after midnight on an unseasonably hot Friday night, the Stonewall was packed when 8 plainclothes or undercover police officers, 6 men and 2 women, entered the bar. In addition to the bar's employees, they also signaled out a drag queen and other cross-dressing patrons for arrest. In New York City, masquerading as a member of the opposite sex was a crime. More NYPD officers arrived on foot in 3 patrol cars. Meanwhile, bar patrons who had been released joined the crowds of onlookers that were forming outside of Stonewall. A police van arrived and police began loading Stonewall employees and cross-dressers inside. Now, accounts vary over exactly what kicked off the riots, but according to witnesses, the crowd erupted after police roughed up a woman dressed in a masculine attire. Some believe this to be the lesbian activist Storm DeLavier, who had complained that her handcuffs were too tight. People started taunting the officer, yelling pigs and copper and throwing pennies at them, followed by bottles, and then someone in the crowd slashed the tires of the police vehicles.
Can't get away now, copper.
According to David Carter, historian and author of Stonewall, the riots that sparked the gay revolution, the hierarchy of resistance in the riots began with the homeless or street kids. These young gay men who viewed the Stonewall as the only safe place in their lives. Because I hate to say it, a lot of the
Sorry.
young gay kids that were around
Boss move. I like that.
were sleeping on like the harbor. And
Yeah.
a lot of them were actually also
And what type?
practicing sex work at the time.
I
So
say, and
Stonewall
what-
was a safe haven.
And what year was this again? So it's like it all
1969.
kind of matches up to the time of the year and stuff, or the time
Yeah.
frame, not time of the year, but the
Time
frame.
frame. So 2 transgender women of color, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, were said to have resisted arrest and thrown the first bottle or brick or stone at the cops, respectively. Although Johnson later
How
said,
do you respectively throw a bottle or brick? Oh, hey, I'm gonna throw this at you, so just behave.
well, no, because now they're like, it was either a bottle, it was either a brick, or it was a stone. They threw something.
Okay, I'm like, how do you respectively? Hey, just give you a heads up. I'm gonna throw this at you.
So
I'm giving you duck.
Johnson later said in a 1987 podcast interview with historian Eric Marcus
Huh.
that she had not arrived until the uprising was well underway. She wasn't there.
Dang it, you missed so much.
So many view her as a way of saying that it was most likely Sylvia Rivera, and I'll talk about them because they are actually really inspirational cases.
Okay.
So close to 4 a.m. on June 28th, police retreat and barricade themselves inside Stonewall.
We're having bricks and stuff thrown at us.
As the police van and squad cars left to drop off the prisoners at the nearby 6th precinct, the growing mob forced the original NYPD raiding party to retreat in the Stonewall itself and barricade themselves inside.
Retreat.
Some rioters used a parking meter as a battering ram to break through the door.
Wow.
Others threw beer bottles, trash, and other objects, or made impromptu firebombs with bottles, matches, and lighter fluid.
Okay.
Sirens announced the arrival of more police officers as well as squadrons of tactical patrol force, the city's riot police. As the helmeted officers
Took them long enough.
marched in formation.
No, you guys can handle it. Okay, now we're coming. Oh my God.
As the helmeted officers marched in formation down Christopher Street, protesters outsmarted them by running away, then circling the short blocks of the village and coming back up behind the officers.
Like,
Finally, after 4 a.m., things settled down. Amazingly, no one died or was critically injured on the first night, though a few officers reported.
Here's my face.
And that's how a few officers did report injuries.
Oh. We need a band-aid for your boo-boo.
So Stonewall reopened the next night.
Nice. Don't mess with people's alcohol.
Supporters gather. Police beat and tear gas the crowd. So despite having been torn apart by the cops, the Stonewall Inn opened before dark the next night, though it wasn't serving alcohol.
Oh.
More and more supporters showed up chanting slogans like "Gay Power" and "We Shall Overcome." Again, the police were called out to restore order, including an even larger group of TPF officers who beat and tear gassed members of the crowd. This continued into the early hours of the morning when the crowd dispersed. June 29th through July 1st, Stonewall becomes a gathering point for activists. Over several nights, gay activists continued to gather near Stonewall, taking advantage of the moment to spread information and build the community that would fuel the growth of gay rights movement. Though police officers had also returned, the mood was less confrontational, with isolated skirmishes replacing the large-scale revolution of the weekend.
Okay.
So, gay activists protest newspaper coverage. These pissed me off.
Okay.
In response to the Village Voice coverage of the riots, referred to the forces of effatry. I'm trying not to say a slur.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, the forces of effatry. Protesters swarmed outside the paper's offices. Some called for burning the building down.
Oh God.
When the police pushed back, rioting started again, but lasted only a short time, concluding by midnight. The New York Daily News also resorted to homophobic slurs as it detailed the coverage, running the headline, "Homo Nest Raided, Queen Bees Are Stinging Mad." Yeah.
Oh my God. What? Wow. Okay.
Meanwhile, the New York Times wrote only sparingly on the whole event, printing a short article on page 22 on June 30 titled, "Police Again Rout Village Youth."
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a queen bee.
Get away from me. Sting.
No,
Um,
really, queen bee.
So now this may have seemed small, but it started something wonderful. It started the gay rights movement that we have now. So now let's talk about some of the people I previously mentioned, starting with Storm DeLaVere, who was a butch lesbian with zero tolerances discrimination, or as she called it, ugliness.
Okay.
She was born in New Orleans on Christmas Eve to a black mother and a white father.
What is it with New Orleans? Fascinating things.
I had to throw her in there.
New Orleans. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So she was biracial, which already 1 point against her.
Yeah.
The fact that she's a butch lesbian, that's another 2 points. So she was born in New Orleans on Christmas Eve to a black mother and a white father.
Dude.
She had a beautiful baritone voice and discovered a love for jazz at an early age. She started singing in New Orleans clubs at 15 and soon after began touring around Europe, eventually landing in New York City. She became the master of ceremonies for the Jewel Box Revenue, a racially integrated variety show featuring 25 drag queens.
Angela, illegal for birth.
Exactly.
She also said that's how the police leathers happen. Laugh out loud. And then I'm good with that. Okay.
Featured 25 drag queens, and drag queens is another also term that they use to define transgender people, because again there was no one word for it, so it felt whatever was right.
I hate to say it, I'm gonna steal her slogan right there. They dress better than we do. Giving you that heads up right now.
God, but drag queens now,
Yes.
yes, they do.
They're so.
Sometimes I'm like, damn, I'm jealous.
It's like, you want to go shopping?
Please take me shopping and teach me your methods. You're so cool.
Pretty much.
So, DeLaVere was the lone drag queen.
Okay.
So she would dress up as a guy. At the time, New York City law required every person to wear at least 3 pieces of clothing that matched the gender they were assigned at birth. So initially, DeLaVere tried to obey this law by wearing women's clothing on the streets and only did drag on stage. However, she was arrested twice while wearing women's clothing because cops thought she was a drag queen.
Oh my God. That's horrible. That's dude.
She gave up on abiding by that law.
No. Good for her.
Though she
That's
was occasionally
ridiculous.
detained for wearing men's clothing too. During one arrest, a police officer criticized her bow tying skills.
Is she better than you? Is that why you criticized her?
She responded by asking for a tutorial. He complied, and in a 2001 interview, Delavere boasted that she could still tie a bow tie perfectly without a mirror. So he taught her how to tie a bow tie.
Oh, wow. Well, that's nice. And I agree with you, Angela. Drag does not mean transgender, nor does it mean gay or lesbian.
No, it doesn't. But back then, they would use the term intermittently because there was no, again, term for transgender.
They were being like disrespectful.
Yeah, they kind of just were like...
That's the slur that they wanted to use at that time. But I agree with you.
So she... Delavere boasted... Delavere called herself the guardian of the lesbians in the village. She patrolled the streets of Greenwich Village with a concealed rifle, making sure all the lesbians and street kids were safe. If she saw any ugliness, she would shut it down immediately.
I like how she says ugliness. She doesn't say anything else. It's if I see any type of ugliness. I like that.
She continued doing her rounds every night.
What do you want?
Even as an octogenarian, recounting in a 2002 interview.
Sure, I did. Yeah, ugliness.
Yeah. You don't do ugliness around me. Just don't try it. You're apt to wind up with your ass on the floor is one of her quotes.
Can we put that on a shirt? No ugliness, ass will end up on floor.
Some people believe that Delavere started the Stonewall uprising. The story that goes the mysterious butch lesbian was being arrested for violating the three-piece clothing law, and that she either yelled for the crowd to do something or she punched an officer herself, which enraged others to start fighting back. Some say Delavere...
You want that one? You want the no ugliness or ass will hit the floor?
Some say that Delavere was this butch lesbian, and others say that it wasn't her. She even went back and forth herself, and in her old age preferred not to talk about the specifics. Delavere suffered from dementia in her later years. From 2010 to 2014, she lived in a nursing home in Brooklyn. Though she seemingly did not recognize it was a nursing home, her memories of her childhood and the Stonewall uprisings remain strong. She died in her sleep on May 24th, 2014 in Brooklyn.
And that was Riviera?
Nope, that was
the other lady.
Delavere.
I like Delavere.
Sylvia Rivera.
I like
Yeah.
I like the other lady because she was like, I ain't gonna put up with your crap.
Yeah, she was very much
she was
very much like I'm gonna punch you in the face.
And she did.
I'm gonna put your butt on the... Her name was Storm Delavere.
I like her.
Yeah. So Sylvia Rivera was born in New York in 1951 to a father from Puerto Rico, and her mother was Venezuelan.
Okay.
She was assigned male at birth. Riviera had an incredibly difficult childhood. Her father was absent, and her mother died by suicide when Riviera was 3 years old.
Oh, jeez.
Raised by her grandmother, Riviera began experimenting with clothing and makeup at a young age. She was beaten for doing so, and after being attacked on a school playground in 6th grade by another student and suspended from school for a week, Riviera ran away from home at age 11.
See, that would irritate the heck out of me. I'm sorry. But somebody is picking on your child. They're bullying your child. And you're going to suspend that child who's being bullied, but are you suspending the other person? That crap right there irritates me to no end. I don't like that. Now you're showing favoritism to the other person, and you were allowing the bullying to happen, but you're going to suspend the other kid because they were being bullied. For what?
And because she was
experimenting and she was trying to look different.
Yeah.
Shame on you. So
she ran away from home at age 11 and became a victim of sexual exploitation around 42nd Street. So she became a victim. In 1963, Riviera met Martha P. Johnson, and it changed her life. Johnson was an African-American self-identified drag queen and activist who was also battling exclusion in the movement for gay rights that did not brace her gender expression. Riviera said of Johnson that she was like a mother to me. The two were actively involved in the Stonewall uprisings in June 28, 1969, when patrons of the Stonewall Inn, the gay bar, rebuffed a police raid.
Yeah.
So Riviera, in an interview in 2001, said that while she did not throw the first Mazel Tov cocktail at the police,
Mazel tov.
Molotov cocktail. She said that she didn't throw the first one, but she sure as
I was
hell
like,
threw.
did she look at him and say Mazel tov? And here,
She did not throw the first Molotov cocktail, but she sure as hell threw the second Molotov cocktail.
that's too funny.
For 6 nights, the 17-year-old Rivera refused to go home or to go to sleep, saying, "I'm not missing a minute of this.
No,
It's
yeah.
the revolution."
Heck yeah.
So the first Pride parades in 1970, but Riviera and other transgender people
Yeah.
were discriminated against and discouraged from participating. In 1973, Riviera participated in the Gay Pride Parade, but she was not allowed to speak,
Oh,
despite the amount of work and advocacy she had done. So she grabbed the microphone anyway, telling the spectators and other marchers if it wasn't for the drag queen, there would be no gay liberation movement. We're the frontliners.
good point.
She was booed off the stage.
Hey, she made her point. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
All that matters.
Throughout the 1970s, she frequently tangled with gay rights leaders who were hesitant to include transgender people in their advocacy work. The Gay Activist Alliance, which formed in response to Stonewall, frequently rejected the role transgender people, the majority of whom were people of color, had played in the uprising.
Mhm.
Riviera also fought against the exclusion of transgender people from Sexual Orientation Non-Discrimination Act in New York. That final bill passed in 2002 and prevents discrimination on the basis of actual or perceived sexual orientation in employment, housing, public accommodations, education, credit, and the exercise of civil rights. Along with Marsha P. Johnson, Riviera started the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, otherwise known as STAR.
The only thing I'm thinking of right now, I mean, besides this,
Mhm.
is what I'm picturing every time you say transvestite. All I'm seeing and hearing is the song from what is that show?
Rocky Horror,
Yeah,
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
yeah. Because when I first seen that, I was like, because everybody had talked about the actor who did
Mhm.
the part that he dressed up like that. I was like, what?
Mhm.
And then I finally watched. That's a really good movie, by
It
the way.
is.
If you want to see something, Rocky Horror Picture Show is really really good. The music is amazing and it's great.
Oh, I love the
And when
music.
it comes to his part,
Mhm.
they pulled it up pretty dang well.
Mhm.
That was really good.
So the group became a space to organize and discuss issues facing the transgender community in New York.
Mm.
And they also had a building of a star house that provided lodgings for those who needed it. Riviera explained in 1998 that she and Johnson decided it was time to help each other and help our other kids. We fed and clothed people. We kept the building going. We went and hustled the streets. We paid the rent.
Oh, wow.
Although only 19,
Jeez.
Riviera became a mother to many in the residents of the Star House. While short-lived, Star House was an important space for those who needed it. The trouble she experienced as a child followed her into adulthood, and Riviera frequently experienced homelessness and had problems with substance abuse.
Mm.
At one point, Riviera attempted suicide. Her friend Johnson brought her to the hospital and helped her get healthy again. After this experience, Riviera left New York City and activism behind for a bit. She returned to the city in 1992 after the death of Johnson. Once back in the city, Riviera got involved again with the fight for inclusion and the recognition of transgender individuals. She started the Transy House, modeled off the Star House. In 1997 in Park Slope, Brooklyn, she also reconciled with the gay rights movement that had now expanded to embrace the LGBTQ+ community. She was given a place of honor in the 25th anniversary Stonewall in March in 1994. Riviera said in a 1995 interview in the New York Times, of participating in this parade, the movement had put me on the shelf, but they took me down and dusted me off. Still, it was beautiful. I walked down 58th Street and the young ones were calling for me from the sidewalk. Sylvia, Sylvia, thank you. We know what you did.
Nice.
In 2021, she was marching in the New York Pride parades and living in the Transy House. Sylvia Rivera died of liver cancer in St. Vincent's Manhattan Hospital in 2002 at the age of 50. Her partner, Julia Murray, was with her at the time of her death.
Oh, nice.
Very sweet. She was a fighter from the beginning to the end.
He's a Disney queen now. Disney owns Rocky. What? It doesn't really? I didn't know that. Disney owns Rocky Horror Picture.
That means he's a princess.
Yes, he is.
I'm sorry, I haven't eaten a lot. I'm not done. I still have Martha
I
P.
know,
Johnson.
but since you're crumbling crackers, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
For her to, no matter what, she kept going. She literally just kept fighting, kept going to get things that needed to be done. And you know, we've had the little protests here in
Mhm.
downtown where we live at, and downtown Tucson. And I'm going to point this out because I've pointed it out to other people. We had a friend of ours that we were downtown going to do something, and there were people down there, obviously, you know, to fight for rights, for equal rights and stuff like that. And the person in the vehicle, the friend that we were with, was like, "Well, why are they down here? Why are they doing this?" I'm like, "Well, it seems to me like they're, you know, down here to get equal rights just like everybody else. Why can't they have it?" And the guy got upset about it, and I go, "You know what? Good for them. I'm glad to see them out here because you know what? Everybody has a right to equal rights to do, as long as they do it legally." I will throw that out there because I want people coming back at me. As long as you do it legally and the right way and not be stupid about it.
Yeah.
And then us as a community have no right to judge those people or these said people because of who they are, their sexual orientation. We have no right to do that. So just because you don't like them and you don't like change, then you do you, honey boo boo. But
And I think also, like, just
I have friends. We have friends that are gay, lesbian, bi. I mean, come on.
I mean, and it's, to me, it's, I've seen things on the internet recently talking about how we shouldn't be including transgender people in the LGBT, and I'm like,
Yes, I agree with that.
well,
Huh?
I'm like, why why should they not be included? It's like Sylvia Rivera said, you would not be here if it wasn't for us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they are people.
Exactly.
They're human beings. Who
Exactly.
cares what they do? Why does it bother you so much?
Let them live their life. They're not.
Give rights. They ain't bothering you. They're not. They're not enforcing or pushing their lifestyle on you, are they?
They're just
No.
existing.
They're just trying to be in the world. So instead of being asshats, be supportive.
Exactly, because not including them means they don't have to fight for their rights.
Yes.
And that is wrong. We should be fighting for everybody's rights.
Is this gonna get political right now?
No, I'm just
Okay.
saying we should all fight for everybody's rights.
I mean, I'm all down, you know, political crap going on right now. If you want my 2 cents, that might be a different video.
Yeah, that's gonna be a different one. We're gonna talk about Martha P. Johnson though. She was a sweetheart. Yeah. It's like the idea, and I hate to bring this up, it's like that idea of white proximity. So like for example, like the Irish, where the Irish were need not apply, the Italians were discriminated against, right? And so they often stood with like black and brown communities because they were not included. But the moment they started being included in white society, they immediately turned their back on black and brown communities. They immediately were like, nah.
Irish did? Huh? Irish people did?
In America, yeah.
Shame on you.
So it kind of became this, like, the closer you are to whiteness, the more you're going to turn your back and look at them as the other. So
I'm just going to throw this out there. It's more or less of a religion standpoint. Do not judge.
Yeah.
It says, do not judge. You were supposed to love
your
neighbors.
neighbor. Yep. So we're going to talk about Martha P. Johnson. So Martha P. Johnson
Martha
was born on August 24th in 1945 in Elizabeth, New Jersey. She was assigned male at birth. And Johnson grew up in an African-American working-class family.
Exactly. Treat all how you want to be treated. You want to be treated like crap? Guess what? You're going to get treated like crap. You want to be treated with respect and dignity and be seen? Then you will get that. You don't want to do that? Then go.
So Martha was the fifth of 7 children, born to Malcolm Michaels Sr. and Alberta Claiborne.
Malcolm
Michaels.
I'm just like the M's.
Yeah.
Malcolm Michael. I had it
Senior.
backwards.
So that means there's got to be a junior.
Apparently.
So Johnson's father worked at the General Motors assembly line in Linden, New Jersey, and her mom was a housekeeper.
Okay.
And Johnson grew up in a religious family and began attending Mount Teman African Methodist Episcopal Church. As a child, and she remained a practicing Christian for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
Johnson enjoyed wearing clothes made for women and wore dresses starting at age 5.
Okay.
Even though these clothes reflected her sense of self, she felt pressure to stop due to other children's bullying and experiencing a sexual assault at the hands of a 13-year-old boy. Immediately after graduating from Thomas A. Edison High School, Johnson moved to New York City with one bag of clothes and $15.
Okay.
Once in New York, Johnson returned to dressing and clothing made for women and adopted the full name Martha P. Johnson. The P stood for Pay It No Mind,
I like that.
a phrase that became her motto. Johnson described herself as a gay person, a transvestite, and a drag queen, and she used she/her pronouns. The term transgender had only become commonly used after her death.
What are you
According
doing
to
over
her nephew, Johnson always maintained a close but fraught relationship with her family back in New Jersey. It was not easy to live in the margins. New York State still persecuted gay people and frequently criminalized their activities and presence.
there? Oh, she said, by the way, Martha was the junior.
Oh, was she the junior? I didn't even bother looking up her real name. I was like, she wants to be called Martha P. Johnson. I'm gonna call her Martha P. Johnson.
Yeah, she's the junior. Angela's saying she's the junior.
Sorry, I didn't eat anything for lunch, so I'm eating it now.
Yeah, because I'm getting hungry. I made steaks, but they're in the crock pot, and I'm going to smash them up, make taters, and then get some of the Kinder's gravy, and that's what's for dinner.
Ooh. So New York State still prosecuted gay people and frequently criminalized their activities and presence.
Slaps you on the hand.
Rights for LGBTQ plus people were limited and sometimes ignored completely. Having difficulty finding employment.
Mhm.
Um,
I agree with you, Thomas. She does.
yes, she
Angela
does.
needs a job as a historian. Hermione, what are you doing? Do you got to go pee?
No, she's playing with the thing. She's trying to play with the cat.
What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? You got to go outside? Okay.
Willow, you are not going outside.
No, but Mom moved, and I have to go where she goes. See? Told you. She answered that one. Oh, Mom got up. What she doing?
So Johnson turned to sex work because she could not find a job. She was often abused by clients and arrested by the police. She also did not have a permanent home during this time and bounced around sleeping at friends'
Well,
homes.
thank you, Willa, for making us go black for a minute. Because, you know, your tail has to be in the way.
And she bounced around sleeping at friends' homes, hotels, restaurants, and movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
She also found work waiting tables and performing in drag shows. In 1992 interview, Johnson said, "I was no one, nobody from Nowheresville until I became a drag queen." Not long after moving to New York,
Willow, stop it. Get over here. Hold on. Okay, now. Can you
not long after moving to New York, the then 17-year-old Johnson, so Johnson was 17, right?
Mhm.
When she met 11-year-old Sylvia Rivera.
Oh, wow.
That's how long Sylvia and Marsha, they knew each other for that long. Rivera, a Puerto Rican transgender girl, and the two became instant friends. As Johnson had done for herself, she encouraged Rivera to love herself and her identity.
Mhm.
Johnson adored wearing colorful, fun outfits she made from finds at thrift stores and discarded items.
Thrift stores are so awesome.
She was also often seen wearing a crown of flowers.
Aw.
Which was so sweet when I found out. So Johnson's life changed when she found herself engaging with the resistance at Stonewall Inn on June 28th. In the early morning hours, police raided the bar. Johnson said in a later interview that the place was already on fire and there was a raid already. The riots had started. So there was a lot. That's what she had said.
Mm-hmm.
So the raid at Stonewall galvanized the gay rights movement. The first gay pride parade took place in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
and a series of gay rights groups, including the Gay Liberation Front, a more radical organization, and the Gay Activist Alliance, a more moderate and focused spin-off group, emerged. And Johnson was involved in the early days of both, but grew frustrated by the exclusion of transgender and people of color from the movement. She actively spoke out about the transphobia in the early gay rights movement. Throughout the 1970s, Johnson became a more visible and prominent member of the gay rights movement.
Oh, stop yelling.
She began performing with the drag group Hot Peaches.
Woo!
She attracted the attention of many, including the pop artist Andy Warhol,
Oh, wow.
who included her in a series of prints in 1975 entitled Ladies and Gentlemen. In an interview Johnson did for a 1972 book, she said her ambition was to see gay people liberated and free, and to have equal rights that other people have in America. She wanted to see her gay brothers and sisters out of jail and off the streets again. In another interview, she said, "As long as gay people don't have their rights all across America, there is no reason for celebration." In 1980, she was invited to ride in the lead car of the Gay Pride Parade in New York City.
Nice.
Despite her joyous personality and ever-present smile, Johnson experienced hardship. She never let her personal setbacks stop her advocacy. In the 1970s, Johnson experienced a series of mental health breakdowns and spent time in and out of psychiatric hospitals. She also continued to engage in sex work, not knowing any other way to make money, and she continued to get arrested. In 1990, Johnson was diagnosed with HIV.
Oof.
She spoke publicly about her diagnosis and how people should not be afraid of those with the disease. In June 26, 1992 interview, and like that's the part that gets me, right? Even after they came out saying that the only way you can get it, HIV, is if like you get blood,
Yeah.
or like your like bodily fluids have to get inside of the other person's body. That is how you transmit the disease.
Yeah.
There was still a lot of fear. I remember my mom talking to me about, because she became a nurse in like mid to late 80s. And she remembers that when she was in Colorado at the time, there was a bunch of patients with HIV.
Right.
And she would be the only nurse that would actually take care of them. She remembers being the ones to help make sure that they were clean, that they were taken care of, that they would get their meds, because the other nurses were scared to do it.
Well, your mom was wearing the proper.
And it wasn't even that. It was just that,
well, I mean,
even
like,
if they wore the proper care. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just the fear of, oh, I might contract this gay virus.
Yeah.
It's not gay virus. It's just a virus. Ah, I'm sorry. I get really heated with the terminology. Oh, it's a gay virus.
It's
it's not.
It's not a gay virus, people. Come on.
So, on July 6, 1992, Johnson's body was found in the Hudson River. She was 46.
Yeah.
So initially ruled a suicide. Many friends questioned that conclusion and actually suspected foul play, because again, she was in the front. So pretty much everyone in New York knew who she was. So at the time, 1992 was the worst year on record for anti-LGBTQ violence, according to New York's Anti-Violence Project.
Oh, wow.
Police then reclassified the case as drowning from undetermined cause.
That's weird.
Because they could not determine if she drowned because she tried to commit suicide, or if she was killed, like somebody had put her in the river and killed her on purpose.
Yeah.
The LGBTQ plus community was furious that the police refused to investigate further, and that many press outlets did not cover her death.
Yeah.
At her funeral, hundreds of people showed up at the church.
What are you doing?
It was so crowded that people stood on the street.
She had a head wound.
Oh, that's why I did not
To the back
see
of
that.
her head. Oh, wow.
So that's why they had ruled it as, and why they were also so mad. So in 2012, the New York State Police Department reopened the case to Johnson's death. She died in 1992, and they reopened her case in 2012.
Hmm.
Any evidence that existed in 1992? Gone.
Gone.
Can you?
This is why I get mad. This is why I get mad at historical cases. No. I get mad at historical cases because they do something so wrong. And then they're like, oh my God, we're going to fix it. No, it's fixed. It's broken. You can't fix what's broken.
Can't hear you. What? An X what? Oh, I didn't see anything. Okay.
Thank you, Mariah Lopez, for helping it get changed. But also, why can't you do investigations when you see it?
Because they don't want to. Why would they want to do that? You're helping a community that they don't believe in.
I don't believe in you, NYPD.
Oh. Well, think about it.
Oh, they suspect a police officer did it?
Ooh, that'd be why.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Let's not all blame law enforcement. Law enforcement is usually very, very, very good.
Not all.
Not all.
Very little or not all.
We weren't blaming it
Just said
because they suspected a police officer.
They suspected it was.
No, really? We know that.
Oh, really?
That's what she said.
Because they
They
ruled
suspected it.
they ruled it a suicide, but there was a wound on the back of her head.
So they're suspecting
And
that
she
a
was
police
found in a
officer-
river.
That a police officer could have done it.
human being could have given that to her.
Exactly. They suspected that it was a cop. They didn't say that it was a cop.
They're
We didn't
suspected.
say it was a cop.
But this was also during the time when there was peak violence against the LGBTQ community at the time.
Not blaming all, but Martha was speaking out against dirty cops.
At the
That's
time.
why they think a cop might have done it. Because what she was saying. And it was a cover up from the beginning. And there were dirty cops.
Woo! But yeah, that's Stonewall. Martha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, Storm DeLaver. Levere. I'm tired. Today's my second day off. It's usually my first day off. So usually I'm still more in the game, but I'm not in the game today. I'm out of the game.
Yeah, just a little bit, but that's okay.
But yeah.
Because then the next one is what? What's the next one?
Let me get the title.
Oh, jeez.
That I have named this thing.
Slow down there. Slow down.
Fred and Rev. I have named this Fred and Rose West, the most despicable people on the planet.
Wow.
I kid you not.
That'll be in our description.
Oh no, yeah, it's awful.
And there's a part 1 and part 2.
There is a part 1 and part 2.
And then next month we go to Barbara Jean, right? On the 4th.
I think yeah. July 1st we do.
Oh, July 1st.
Yeah, we do. We do Fred and Rose West. No.
We do.
We do.
So on the 30th we do Barbara Jean.
No, because it is the 16th. It is the 16th. So the 23rd is Fred and Rose West.
That's what I'm saying.
The 30th is Fred and Rose West.
Oh, that's right. Okay, and then the 7th. So it's the 7th.
The 7th
is Barbara Jean, and then the 16th or 14th. God, we can't read. 14th.
I mean, it is cut off.
It is, and then the 14th is going to be the whole Disney thing because it's just the anniversary of Disney.
You want to know how despicable these people are?
I don't know how despicable are they.
Part 1 is 17 pages. Part 2 is 15 pages, and that is because I didn't include a bunch of stuff in the end because the stuff that was released is awful.
Yeah, so we can always find the ad and put it in the comments or the description, and you can go find it.
I have listened to Fred confess to murdering, and I will admit this: he kills a kid of his. I have listened to him admit to killing his daughter, and he says it with such a straight voice, and he also laughs on that video, and that made me almost throw up. That laugh of his, it's awful. It's
So what I'm hearing is we're not going to play the video.
we are. I mean, I could play you the audio in part 2 because
But it's just the confession. It's not everything.
It's a little bit about the confessions and how the police like slowly find the bodies.
Yeah.
And then the eventual trial of Fred and Rose West. Because fun fact, they originally thought it was just Fred.
That's another T-shirt. Fun fact.
Yeah, they originally thought it was just Fred, and then the kids were like, "Nah, it's not just Fred. His wife's in on it." How the police didn't realize wife was in on it, I don't know. But yeah, they are horrible, despicable human beings.
Fun fact. Right now.
And currently, I will give you this. One of them is still alive. And I think in England, you have to, exactly, the women are meek and innocent. They basically like, oh, I can't be her. And then when the kids were like, I'm going to hate to break it to you. The police were like, what do you mean? I'm like, what? Yeah, it was awful.
Oh, you're so sweet, Sataru. Over here cleaning her sister.
She's licking the dog.
Oh, now she's gonna play, and she's like, "Nope, you ain't touching." She even went to nip at her head, like, "You ain't touching the paws."
Hermione is like an old, tired mom.
It's like, "Get off me, kid! Just back off."
She is not the fun aunt.
No, she's not the fun aunt. She's the party pooper aunt.
She's the aunt that makes
She's
you.
the aunt party pooper.
Aunt party pooper. Yeah.
The aunt party pooper.
This morning, Tataru was ripping up paper, and Hermione was like laying at the bottom of the bed, like, make her stop.
Yep, and then they found a centipede last night in the house, and Tataru kept trying to eat it. Until I got it away from them and smashed it numerous times.
Yeah, she found her trying to kill a sun scorpion by smashing it with her paw. I found her playing with a sun scorpion, and she carried it into Justin's room. She picked it up and she carried it, which was terrifying because I didn't know it was a sun scorpion. I thought it was just a scorpion. And the cat had picked it up. I thought my cat was going to die.
Here, Mom. Present.
Drops it in Justin's room. And the thing drops. And it starts wandering around like, where's Emma?
Where did they go?
And then I realized that it was a sun scorpion. And I was like, what the frick? And the cat's like, let me just... trying to play with it.
Accurate.
Yeah, except she was smacking pretty hard.
You know, you're doing that whole thing. I did like 4 of the word searches.
Huh. Very nice.
And was still able to give my reaction.
Oh, dead scorpion. Oh no.
4 inches big.
No.
At least it was dead. I mean,
at least it wasn't alive. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
I would cry.
So this is what, episode 15. 5 more episodes and we get to our 20th, and then
I will say
I think we only have still have 17 subscribers. So please go over to A&M History, that channel,
and follow us.
like that channel.
The A&M History. Follow us there because we are trying to get to 50 so we can go to live there
instead of on J.A.M's Adventures, because I forget to upload the videos over to there sometimes. So yeah. I did the last 2 videos. Thank you.
Yay.
Now I gotta do the trap. I think the trapper and this one.
Yeah, we gotta do these, and then but yeah, no, that was a little bit of history.
Is that a little bit of history?
That was a little bit of history. I will say Fred and Rose West, their case is not going to include a bunch of history, because they are history. Literally. And when I say they are history, it's simply because like I think he was born in like the 60s and they weren't caught. No, he was born in the 40s and the 30s, and they were not caught until I think it was 1994 was when he was officially arrested for his crimes.
That's 14. Dang.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, he's fair.
Eh,
The words are helping us out today.
If Fred and Rose West were to appear in front of me right now, no, I would not.
Them. She killed them with the pen.
I would not kill them with a pen. I would kill them with my bare hands.
We're gonna John Wick.
I would pow 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 pow.
We're gonna
I would pull an Andrew Tate.
You don't want to John Wick it? You killed them with the pen. No, a pencil.
A pencil. No, I wouldn't kill them with a pencil. Actually, you know what? You know what I would do? You know what I would do? I would beat them until they were almost to death.
Okay, when I'm done, I'm gonna finish dinner.
I would beat them almost to death, and then I would make sure that they're still living, because they don't deserve death. They deserve to suffer for their crimes. Do you know she was the second woman in English history to be given a life sentence? It was actually called a life tariff.
Oh wow, no, I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
she is a second woman in England's history to be given a life tariff, which is basically you go to jail for the rest of your life. There's no getting out, because they originally sentenced her to 25
She's
years.
gonna be playing pinochle for a while. Be Bertha's girlfriend.
She deserves it.
Hmm?
She's a horrible human being.
Well, I can't say because I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
You're gonna regret knowing anything about it. If you're anything like me, you'll wake up swinging your arms like you're trying to hit something. I'm pretty sure that it was because I was typing up on them that I woke up swinging.
I mean,
but yeah, that is history, and I'm gonna try to see why I can't pull up the rest of part 2, because it only has given me 12 pages, and I need my 15. And then I need my beginning of the history, the kidnapping of Barbara Jean.
now I need to start my stuff. I keep saying that, and I don't do it.
Yeah,
So I might want to do that Wednesday. And
Yeah.
do my stuff of.
I will also say, heads up, I thought the kidnapping of Barbara Jean would be a nice little, ooh, yay. I'm typing it and I'm getting really mad.
Was that when you were talking about the cops?
Yeah.
I was like, another one?
Yeah.
Cops
yeah,
that
the
we're gonna
cops
get
are
angry
not
at?
the greatest in this one. Yeah.
Peanuts.
Yeah, you're going to get a little irritated at them.
Why do I not get
There's
irritated
oil.
at widgets? Look, I found peanuts. Then another one.
But yeah. So that's it.
That be it. I'm gonna go feed my butt. Not literally, but I'm hungry.
Go enjoy food.
I need to go make some dinners so we can all eat. And today's Monday, so
I gotta go into work tomorrow.
We both do. 7 to 4 tomorrow. 7 to 4.
I'm not built for 7 to 4s. This is gonna be awful.
Yeah, because usually it's just me going to work on Tuesdays. What happened to grocery shopping?
He said I could do the grocery shopping. He doesn't want to go the grocery shopping with me.
So then we'll go after work. Because I need to grab another bag of kitty food and.
How dare you? I think we're grocery shopping with him.
You know what's fun is I have my tablet right here.
And we see everything
And we see
delayed.
everything. That's why we're laughing.
Because
Like
we'll
right
hear
now,
something.
I'm holding up the tablet to show you that I have my tablet. And then it's going to show me pointing at the screen like this numerous times because we're talking about the tablet.
So yeah. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Fred and Rose West. And I've already told Michelle that if she needs emotional comfort, we will definitely get somebody over here for that, because that's
Bob.
Yeah.
Maybe probably get John
you're gonna
here.
hold Bob.
Hold Bob.
You're gonna hold Bob. Cause heads up, Fred's a monster since his teenage years. This man was born a monster. He was not made. He was
born.
He was born.
So it will be nice to have the episodes after these those.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to have like the ones where you just get angry at the cops, just your little
Yeah.
anger, not the burning rage of 1,000 suns.
Yeah. All right, kids. We're getting off here. So I'm gonna go eat and make foods.
Okay.
And we will see you guys next. I'm gonna say Sunday for me because I haven't done a. No, I did 2 lives on a Sunday today.
On the 8th.
Yeah, I did 2 lives on the 8th, the 15th. Didn't do it because it's Father's Day.
So you're gonna do some more on the 22nd.
So I'll do a live on the 22nd. Probably working on the boards that I was doing for me and my best friend. We're having a silent auction at work, so we're going to go through the stuff we've made to donate it because all the funds go to Children's Miracle Network through our job. So we have to have that in by Thursday. So since we both go in tomorrow, we're both going to go find our stuff so we can get it turned in. But we love you all. Thank you for getting on here. Let's see whoever works tomorrow. We both work tomorrow.
We both work tomorrow. I'm gonna be so excited.
But be kind. Stop hate. No judgment. Do not judge people. Remember, when you're pointing
Don't be
one
a
finger,
bigot.
when you're pointing a finger at them, there's 3 pointing back at you. So just remember that stuff. So we will see everybody next week. Love you guys. Bye.
See you next week. Have plenty of water.
Have a finger in your face.
Get plenty of sleep.
Bye.